All right, do you guys have a Honda vehicle that the driver's seat rocks back and forth like this? So this video, I'm going to show you how to fix that. So the problem stems from the height adjustment. So there's a knob here on the side of the seat that will allow you to raise and lower the seat height. Pretty nice feature, fit a variety of body shapes and sizes, but because of that feature, it requires some linkage. Those linkages are the kind of weak spots. So let me show you how to dig in here and get it fixed. Okay, so here on the knob, there's a little access hole, and you just need a small screwdriver, and you just gently pry that cover out. And then you've got 3 slots in there. This knob is held on with a little clip, and so it's kind of hard to show it, but let me get the clip out. So it's just like a little horseshoe clip like this, and actually looks like this knob was partially broken, but this little clip just fits in some little grooves, and as you push it on this shaft, it'll just lock into the notch on this spline shaft. After that, there's a Phillips screw right above this shaft. Because I'm a tall guy, I've got this seat moved all the way back, so I'm just going to scoot it forward. Next, you take your lever here and just pull it up a little bit and slide this plastic handle forward, and it'll just slide off of this little metal arm. So next, up onto the front here, going straight up from the bottom, there's a little clip that holds a tab, and so you need like a little pry tool to get that out. I've got a little pry tool like this, a little body clip tool. So here is the little part. This is supposed to be attached in here, but just need to pry that out. And then there's another one on the back side. Have to go in through the back door. So here's the other one. So now I'll scoot the seat forward. And so that clip is just right around the bottom of this right here. So now this should just pull out. Little spring clips holding it in. And so on the back of this, right there is where that clip goes. And now if we look at the mechanism here, so this is really gross, I'm gonna have to clean this up, but there's a little linkage arm here, and there's another one back here. And so I think these just end up getting loose. So you can see all of the nastiness. And I don't know that I've got a good way to clean that with it in the car, so I think I'm just going to pull the entire seat out. So to do that, there's just some little plastic covers up here. There's 2 bolts in the front, 2 bolts in the back. Make sure to unhook the airbag wiring. So once you get the bolts out, you'll have some wiring here. There is like a little zip tie that clips into the bottom of the seat here. And there's 3 connectors. Each one disconnects a little differently. So the one closer to the middle of the seat has this little white thing, and you just slide it backwards like that, and then it slides right off. The gray one has a little push tab, and you just push that tab down, and then it slides right out. This one, closer to the middle of the vehicle, took me a little while to figure out, but basically it's got this sleeve on it, and this sleeve slides, and so you pull that sleeve back and it releases, and then you can pull it out of the connector. Okay guys, so I got this out of the car just so I could clean it up. But I think my issue was mainly on maybe a little bit on the back, but mainly on the passenger side of the seat. You can see how much that's moving. So we need to get this side cover off. So to get this one off, there's another pin that goes straight up from the bottom, right inside the lip here. You need your little pry tool for. And then another one at the very back, just like on the driver's side. So now this cover will pop right off. And then now you can see that bolt right there. Looks like it's pretty loose. So already tight. Interesting. So I pulled this little linkage off, and I noticed there's some little bushings in here. One of them was coming out, and I pushed it back in, and now they're super thin. But I'm wondering if that's not the issue, is those bushings are just worn out. Okay, so I tightened all these things up, got all the square washers in place, got everything tightened, and it did help a little bit. But there's still a little bit of movement, and seeing those bushings in the linkage pieces, I went to search, and you can buy those bushings. I'll actually put a link to the bushings down in the description. From Amazon, they're like $9 each, and you need 6 of them. So it's kind of a costly thing to do. You may be able to get them from your local dealership cheaper. I don't know how much markup is on the Amazon prices, whoever listed them on Amazon, but you may be able to order them from your dealer cheaper. But when I was searching for those bushings, I found a post on a Honda Element forum, and a guy had an idea. He didn't want to pay the high prices for those individual OEM bushings, and so he started just thinking about what he had, and he remembered that he had something that looked very similar, and it was a tarp grommet. So he specifically called out this Harbor Freight Tools 1/2-inch grommet kit. This was about $5. I won't be able to find an Amazon link for this, but I will find a link for a 1/2-inch grommet kit. In case you don't have a Harbor Freight near you, you can just order it on Amazon. I'll put a link down in the description. But we're just going to be using some of these grommet pieces. So the idea is, there's one of the original bushings. And so these don't perfectly slide over these studs. They're really close, but they're going to be a pretty snug fit, but that's all right. But the idea is to put that on there and then use the tools, whichever tool, to basically fold that over the edge and basically create a bushing out of these grommets. And so that's going to be what I'm going to try to do. Worst case, I can drill these out and order the correct ones, or just reuse these and live with a little bit of rock. But for $5, I figured this was worth a try. I think there's 50 grommets in here, so you could mess up a bunch of times trying it. You'll obviously need a hammer for this, and probably like a ball peen, so you can flatten that out, or kind of start to flare that, I should say. But the kind of curvature of that, we need to flatten that out as well. Okay, so I did one just to see if it was possible and if it was going to work, and I think it's going to work great. So basically, I've got the 14mm socket that is used to take the nuts off. So I've just got that, and then I put the linkage over the grommet like so. I'll flip it upside down, put that, because this has just a little bit of the grommet sticking out, so I'll put that there so I don't smash it. I'll hit the top of this with a hammer to get it flat, and then I will flip this around. Once this back side of the grommet is flat, I will put it on that side, and then because this is just really soft aluminum, I just took like the end of my pliers and kind of rolled that edge over so it would kind of just pinch around this linkage. And then once it was kind of started to bend, I would use this tool to set it over the top of this. Once that's kind of rolled over, then you can put it in place on the stud. It's a nice snug fit on there. You put one of the little squared off washers over it so that the squares are matching on the shaft there, and then tighten the nut down. And then this will still pivot, but all the slop is gone, and it works out great. So the reason I've got this bottom bracket off is because the back one here has a bushing there. So I'm gonna have to do the same process to this bushing. This fits like so. You've got the linkage that fits here, and then once you pull this side plate off, this guy, there's just 2 spring clips, but there's just 1 bolt that holds that together. Okay, so I've just got the grommet from the back side where I need it to be, open into the socket, And I'll put this down in there like that. And so this is aluminum. It does not take much. I'll flip that back over. And because this is super soft, I'll just kind of use my pliers and start to roll the edge a little. Kind of sloppy, but if you had a nice tapered cone or something that's the right size, it'd work really good. I'll just give this a couple taps. And so that started to roll that edge over. And now while this is close, so you can see it's still a little loose in there. Just kind of fit it over. Got some nice rotation. I'll get one of my squared washers. Make sure it is lined up. So snug that all the way down. And it is still able to move, but there's no play in it now. So definitely the way to go. I'm going to go ahead and do this side and then get the other side of the seat disassembled, do that side as well, and then we'll come back. Okay, so I got one side all back together. Once you get the bushing in and then you press it onto the stud, it's a very snug fit. And getting the square drive washer lined up properly is a little fiddly. So I ended up using the backside of a 3/8 drive socket, aligning it over the stud, and then just giving that square washer, once it was lined up, a little tap. You may have to support behind the stud, but just give it a little tap to kind of force that square washer down where it needs to go. Because if it's not lined up when you tighten it, then everything's going to be loose. So with this grommet being folded over the front of the linkage or the front of the support bracket back here, whatever, there's a little bit extra space that it takes up. And so your square drive washer has to kind of force itself on and squish that stuff into place. So that's the only thing to really be aware of. As I was saying earlier, the tech service bulletin for the Honda Element says you should replace these nuts. I'm not going to. I'll keep an eye on it. But you could put some Loctite on these as well. I'm going to get this thing spun around, do the other side. I'm not going to video. It's going to be the same process. So one thing to keep in mind when you get this inner side or the passenger side of the driver's seat off, your seat belt needs to be removed. So it's a big 14mm bolt here, and then it's got some wiring here, but you can just kind of lay it up out of the way, and then you'll see the pivot bolt is right below it, and then you got your front two up there. Okay, so now that the bushings are replaced, this thing is rock solid, and I still have the adjustability. I can go all the way up to where it used to go, and then all the way back down. So it's a little easier to raise it up. There's actually a torsion spring under here that assists you when going up, I guess because you would be lifting your weight. If you're sitting in the seat, your weight's going to be pushing down. So when you're out of it, it's super easy going up, and it's a little harder going down. But it was like that before I started anything. So doing that other side, I've got this little decorative acorn nut that's got a bit of a point to it. And so for folding over that grommet, this actually worked really well. I could just put the backside of the grommet against something flat, and this didn't go all the way through it, but it would start to roll that edge a lot better. And then I just took the ball end of my hammer and then put it on top and hit it with another hammer, and that kind of finished it out. And then I would just smash it flat with this side. So that ended up working better than using the grommet tools. But I'm going to get this little side cover back on. I had to glue that one tab back together and plastic weld it. But I'm going to get this back on, get it all buttoned up, and I'll have a rock solid driver's seat on my Honda CRV. So if you have a Honda Element a Honda CRV. I think some of the Civics maybe have this same setup, but anything that has this knob that adjusts the height, if it's a little loose, rocks on you. I've seen it posted all over the internet. I don't remember this guy's name, but I will put a link to this forum post down below that recommended using these grommets. Fantastic idea. That whole pack of grommets was, I think, $5. I will put a link to a 1/2-inch grommet kit down below. Super cheap fix. Super happy with the results. And if you like what I do, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, leave me your comments or questions down below. And until next time, we'll see you later.